on, guys? Gannon here, back with another episode of the Captain's Chair. Before we start and talk about anything, it should be warned that this has huge, humongous spoilers for the first season of Star Trek Picard, and especially the season finale. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to be ruined or exposed to any spoilers, just click off the video right now, because this is some pretty big stuff we're discussing. So there's actually been a little bit of a discussion among the Star Trek community after the season finale of Star Trek Picard. In the season finale, basically Picard sacrifices himself to save the synth homeworld of Coppelius, basically to prove to Soji and then also the rest of the people there and convince them that the Federation, and him especially, that they can actually trust them, and rather than calling upon the higher synthetic life forms to come out and totally wipe away the human race and basically all organic life in the Alpha Quadrant, maybe even the entire galaxy. So yeah, Picard sacrifices himself in a way. He kind of overexerts himself in the final moments. Then he falls victim to his brain abnormality. Right before he fully passes on into the afterlife, Dr. Alton Inigo Soon, as well as Soji and Dr. Agnes Jurati, basically do a mind transfer and put his memories, the energy, so to speak, they call it a mind transfer. Everything that makes Picard Picard basically is transferred over into this synthetic golem body. The only thing that we really know for sure is that the body of Picard has died. It's dead, and now Picard's consciousness and soul, so to speak, now reside in this golem body. The golem body is completely identical to his previous body. It's said that his physical capabilities, his lifespan, without the brain abnormality, none of that has been affected in any way. So it's pretty much basically the same old Picard, but minus that little problem that was going on in his noggin. The problem here, though, is when you're dealing with a community of science fiction fanboys, that it isn't really as simple as that. Before we got a little bit more clarification and there was a little bit of a discussion among the community, there was actually this large argument. Basically, the fans were almost creating an existential, meta-ethical discussion about whether this Picard that currently resides in the golem body is actually the same Picard that we know and love. Previously, after that episode aired, if you were to go to the Star Trek Wikipedia powered by fandom, the super official one, you would see that there was a Jean-Luc Picard Wikipedia page, and then there was also a link that if you clicked on it went to a separate page labeled Picard Golem. This kind of implies that the Jean-Luc Picard that we knew and Picard Golem are somehow different, they're somehow different individuals. A lot of people were making arguments there have been other times when characters in the Star Trek verse were transferred into different bodies and they basically remained the same individual, and their new adapted bodies were mentioned in their Wikipedia pages, but they still remained the same individual. It didn't branch off into different character pages like it did with Picard and the Picard Golem. The one exception I have found to this while reading up on this is actually the fact that Dr. Korby has a separate page than the Dr. Korby android. First off, really cool that people are actually going back and citing such an old episode of Star Trek in the original series. That episode, What Little Girls Are Made Of, I'm pretty sure it's called. It's in my top 5 favorite episodes of the original series. I absolutely love it. I love the Twilight Zone-y vibes. I like the ethical questions and discussions that it raises. And then there was that giant android that just basically made the whole episode. His name was Rook, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason they did that was because the whole point of that episode in the original series was to have the actual viewer questioning whether that was Dr. Korby or not. Whereas right now we actually have some more concrete evidence as to why the Picard that is currently in the golem body might still be the Picard that we have come to know and appreciate. Basically, yesterday, Thursday, April 2nd, I'm pretty sure, they went back and they actually made changes to the Wikipedia and they deleted the Picard Golem page and they merged the two back together. So if you go to the Jean-Luc Picard Wikipedia right now, you'll see that the Picard Golem version of himself is in that page. It's explained on that page. There's also a new section in that page titled Death and Resurrection. And if you were to go to the Picard page post-season finale, you would see that he was no longer set as an active active character, and that Jean-Luc Picard was actually deceased, and it almost really made it seem like this Picard Golem was a completely separate character now. But if you go to the Wikipedia page now, Jean-Luc Picard is now back up to active as of 2399, and it's pretty much seeming like the common consensus is that they were able to do a perfect mind transfer, and they were able to basically capture Picard's essence or his soul. I don't really want to like insinuate that there is like for sure souls in the Star Trek canon or anything. I mean, there have been instances where characters have been like completely transferred over, and they referred to like them having this energy that makes them an individual, almost alluding to a soul. The huge prime example of this would of course be Dr. Hugh Culber from Star Trek Discovery season 1 and 2. Near the middle to end section of season 1, Dr. Hugh Culber got his fucking neck snapped by a crazy Klingon driven Ash Tyler, and then he was basically like his energy was transferred into the mycelial network, and they were able to go in there and basically drag his fucking soul out of there and put it into a new body. So I believe what they're kind of implying here is that they did a similar thing with Picard. Before his brain function ceased, they were able to like do a perfect mind transfer, put it into the Golem. While Picard's body died, his consciousness and his soul perfectly passed on. So the Picard that we know, the Picard that we saw in The Next Generation, like his literal consciousness and soul is now in the android. People are still raising like these discussion points, like even if a mind transfer was perfect, could you really like capture a soul and put it into something like that? Then there's the common counter argument to that. Well, people in the Star Trek universe use transporters, and basically that jumbles up your molecules down to like the atomic level and then beams them across space and then just plops them down in this pattern that it recognized. Who's to say that a character going into a transporter isn't dying literally every time that they use it? Technically they are, but is their soul and consciousness dying and a new one is spawned, so every time the character uses a transporter, like a completely different character pops out on the end? It's kind of a similar type beat going on here. If you're going to admit that a soul can be like transferred at the subatomic level, and that the electrons and energy are like going to travel through the transporter and make it so that transporting is actually safe and you're not going to die every time, then I think we should be conceding that there is a possibility that they've somehow managed to create a way to transfer the literal soul of Picard into this new Golem body. Aside from the whole meta-ethical discussion and the arguments and the counter arguments, though, we do have some pretty solid evidence for this. Not only is it common consensus among the wiki now to the point where they went back and made edits and changed it, but if you go to the CBS All Access YouTube channel and you watch the last, I think they call it the Ready Room, it's like the official recap of the episode, and they bring in the actors and ask them questions, similar to how The Walking Dead did like a after show that I never watched. I never watch any of these after shows. I find them really uninteresting. Like, I think I would honestly rather jump off a fucking bridge than sit in my room and give 20 minutes of my time to Will Wheaton talking mediocrely about Star Trek and Star Trek content. My god, I fucking hate Wesley Crusher, but that's a story for another time. We don't need to discuss my hatred of Wesley Crusher right now. But anyways, if you were to watch that Ready Room, there is a clip of Alex Kurtzman just kind of straight up coming out and saying like, hey, yeah, this is the same Picard, like this is the same person, everything is the same. The only difference that like we want to make apparent here is that Picard has a new body, and that there are going to be some implications and consequences that arise from having a synthetic body.
Than to take the character who is most human and put him with all his humanity into a synthetic form.
It's the same person, it's the same consciousness, it's the same body in many ways, just rebuilt. So if there is no difference, and if we're saying they're equal, then he has to walk the walk.
We knew from very early on the idea was to kill Picard and then revive him. It was never the intention simply to kill him.
So basically what they're trying to say here is that they killed Picard's body and then they revived Picard in this Golem body. So if you ask me, I'm going to go along with the intent of the people who produced the show, and I'm just going to sit here and believe that the Picard that is sitting in that Golem body right now is the Picard we've always known, and that his soul or energy did not pass on. It's really weird saying that because we really don't know if there's like fucking souls or anything anything like that in Star Trek. They purposely keep the viewer away from that boundary. Existence and existential themes are a big part of Star Trek, so I don't think they would ever like want to come out and say that people have a fucking soul or anything like that. They kind of did that with Hugh Culber, but it wasn't explicit enough. Anyways, guys, what do you think? What did you think about the season finale? I thought it was fucking pretty insane. There are definitely some things I could criticize about it though. If you're interested to hear any of those criticisms in a live reaction, you could go and watch my Star Trek Picard reviews. I'm gonna be putting them in a playlist, which I will link probably like right now, and then also in the description below. And also, what do you think? Do you guys actually think that this Picard is the same Picard we've always known? How do you feel about Golem Picard? I'm really interested to know. Please leave a comment down below and I will be sure to get back to you. With that, guys, I'm pretty hungry. I'm gonna go make some dinner and get ready for bed. If you liked the video, please slap a like on it, and if you're enjoying the content you're seeing on the channel, I would be very flattered if you were to subscribe. And with that, I'm gonna have to see you in the next one.